Okay, for this particular lab, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to use the Visio portion for the Lab 1 and BIS 245. This is also for anyone that wants to see how to do a one-to-many relationship. I'm going to use our Citrix server for people that don't have Visio 2013 on their computer. I've already gone through the initial setup process, which is in another video. If you have Visio 2013 on your home computer, you can skip all this and just open up Visio. But I'm going to find Visio right here by going to the apps page, and then I'm going to search all the apps for Visio, and there's Visio 2013 right there. So I'm going to open that up. My instructions might be a little bit different than the written ones, but they will get you through the final result of the lab, partly because the Citrix server that I'm using here uh, has a slightly different layout, very minor compared to what you might have on your home machine, I found anyway. So one thing we will have to put up with is with Visio opening up here. It does take a minute or two. Okay, so here we go. We want to open up the database design shapes within Visio. And if you scroll down here, there is one that is called Crow's Foot Database. Um, this one, if you open it up, you get this screen right here. And you can see that over here you have these objects. There aren't many objects that we'll use in this course, just these ones. And I'm going to make it a little bit bigger for you as well. And I'm also going to uh, let you know, let's try to paste in here just a minute. Paste. Okay, this is a screenshot from the instructions of what we want to get to eventually. Of course, all it is a screenshot, so I'm going to have to duplicate this by using the features here in Microsoft Visio. But at least you can get an idea of what we're doing. We want to have a customers table and an orders table. We want to have primary keys known as customer ID and order number, which I'm going to call order ID. And you need to be able to join customers and orders in a one-to-many relationship and have place order as to, a customer places an order to have that descriptor on the relationship. One thing not pictured in this picture is that this should say FK next to it, as in a foreign key. Okay, so that's what we want to aspire to through these steps that I'm going to show you. So let me just make that a little smaller, and I'm going to make this a little bigger. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab two entities, and then I'm going to name them. The first one would be called customers, and this one will be called orders. And then we need to give primary keys to each one of these. And I'm going to call this customer ID, and I'm going to call this order ID. If you gave it different names based on the lab instructions, that's fine with me too, but I do think it's a good practice to give the primary key of each table the name of the table roughly with ID at the end. It really makes keys easy to make visible. So now that you've got that, the next thing you want to do is you want to put the customer ID in this table. And you want this to be a foreign key, because when you look up an order, you want to know who the customer is. In here, eventually, when we implement this in Access, the ID number of the customer will be here, and it'll point to all the customer information, such as their name, their first name, last name, city, all that information. Okay, so to make this a foreign key, you need to right-click on it and then go up to Set Foreign Key. Okay, now what we need to do is we need to join these in a one-to-many relationship, and for that we need the relationship line. And I find it's best to just take that relationship and drop it onto the screen to begin with. And because I'm on Citrix, it's a little bit slower, so it seems to be taking its time with this step. Um, what we're going to do in a minute is we're going to take one end and we're going to attach it to this entity or table until it lights up. And now since it's here, that's what I'm going to do. Take it, see how that table has lit up. Just get it right on the edge so that the table lights up. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the other end and I'm going to put it on here until that table lights up. The other thing that helps sometimes is to right click and say make it a straight connector. If as your database diagrams get bigger, you don't, you might want to move these around, in which case they might have to have a right crook in them, in which case you could change it back to a right angle connector in case you have to, move it in a place that's kind of awkward. See how it goes with the right angle? But for this simple lab, we don't have to do that, and we'll find that this right angle connector is more of a nuisance than anything. So I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to go to straight connector so it looks nice. Now you'll notice here, and I'm going to expand a little bit. Do you see how this has a solid dot and this has a uh, bullseye type of dot that's not completely solid? This specifies the beginning end, and this is the end point over here. This is important because now we want to join this in a one to many relationship. So we want to have this be 1, which means there's 2 hash marks. And this will have like a fan on the side with a 0 next to it, which I'll explain in a minute. The way we do this is we will then right click on this and go set begin symbol. And we want that to be 1 and only 1. And see how it gave a minimum of 1 on the inside and a maximum of 1 on the outside. This is the minimum cardinality. That's the maximum cardinality that it can be. Each order must have a minimum of 1 customer associated with it, and each order must have a maximum of 1 customer. So you can only have 1 customer with each order. On the other hand, for this one, we right click and we go set end symbol. This would be 0 or 1, meaning each customer, well, not 0 or 1, I make a mistake. Hold it. 0 or more. There we go. Each customer can have a minimum of 0 orders because you might want to have that customer in your database but without an order placed because it's pending or you're getting information or they're making up their mind. At a maximum, you want to have many different orders that can associate with that particular order, with that particular customer. Okay, so now we have successfully created the relationship. And another thing that you might want to do, and I would appreciate it because my eyes aren't what they used to be, would be if you go here, right click on the relationship and go to format shape and then change the lines weight. See, I went to line here and I'm going to make the width. See how it gets a lot bigger? And it's a lot easier for you to see it when you get a lot of tables in here as well. So that looks a lot more beautiful. Okay, I'm going to move these together so you can still see them well. Now, the last thing you have to do you notice how we have all of these columns here? We need to put those into these tables. And I'm just going to go, order date. And we're going to make this a little bit big. I thought, okay, I'm going to take another attribute right here, put it on here as well. And what's that one called based on my image? Order city. And notice how for these columns here that are what are called non-key columns, they just hold information, they don't point or anything. We prefix the name of the column with the name of the table. So this one is supposed to be order city. And then we're going to take another attribute and put it down here. And grab that. And the next one will be order status, like open or closed or paid status. And then we're going to grab another attribute and we go up here, and that one is the customer ID. And I don't really care where this customer ID is in the table. If you want to, you can move it down if you want. Doesn't matter to me. Have we got them all? Let's see. Order date, order city, order status, customer ID, uh, order date, order city, order status, customer ID. So that's good. We don't need this one here, and so I'm going to cut it and get rid of it. Okay, last thing we have to do is we have to fill in all of these other attributes for the customer. And it's the same process that I showed for over here. So I'm going to put in some of these and I'll leave the rest to you, but it'll go customer first name. This one is customer last name. Yikes! I went over the table instead. That's what you get when you have latency with your computer. Okay, this is going to be customer last name. And I'm going to leave it to you to put all these other ones in here. Customer street, city, customer street. I don't even know what that stands for. Customer postal code, customer phone. You can put all that in there. And when you're done, you will have what looks like what's required for this portion of the lab. And they do want you to highlight and make the customer look pretty, the text there. So I could turn that into a nice color like that. And I don't care what color you use, as long as you like it. It's fine with me. I like that better. It stands up better. Okay. Okay, so now let's back up and see what this whole thing looks like. And now that we have, oh, the last thing we forgot to do is they want to have the descriptor right here. So when you click on that, I see how I double clicked on it? I could go places order right there. And if you expand on that, you can see that it says customer places order. So what's good about this is that people can look at this database and understand the business situation underneath it. The fact that it says, you know, customer places order. And I notice I can change the font here. Again, that's something that I would appreciate if maybe you do that to make it bigger so it's easily seen. You can see it goes customer places order. And now someone, you know, who inherits this database could understand the business situation it's modeling because of these verb phrases that go on this relationship. Okay, so that's how you do the first part of the lab 1 in BIS 245. There's a second part, and I'm going to get rid of this, get rid of that image now because we've created our own thing. We don't need it. There's a second part which you can just go and you can add another page, see, like this. And then you create another entity relationship diagram, which is essentially the same concept as what you just did, except I believe it goes to the two entities are suppliers and products. So when I go there like that, and then as we did before, you have to go product ID, and over here you would go supplier ID, and then you will have to add in here a foreign key, which would say supplier ID as well, but it's a foreign key. So you would right click on that and you go set foreign key. Because each supplier can supply many products, but each product would come from only one supplier. So black socks from ABC company are a different stock number than Black Sox from QSZ company. So each supplier has many products, but each product would come from only one company. The next thing you do in this video that I'm recording is you grab the relationship line and you join up these two in a one-to-many relationship. So what I do here after this hourglass finishes, I am going to put one end on the suppliers table until the table itself lights up. There you go. And then I'm going to take the other end of it and I'm going to put it here so that this table lights up. And I will confess, 2013 seems to require a lot more fussing around to get this to work than 2010 did. And I'm not really happy with that. But anyway, and then I would right click on it again and make it a straight connector for now. If we need larger databases, you make it have a crook in it. And then what you do is you're going to have to add in all the other attributes. And I'm not going to do that because it's just a matter of going in here and then changing the name of the attribute. At the end, you can go here and you can give this a nice purdy color of some kind that makes it stand out. Ooh, that's awful. Something that makes it easy to see it. And products, make that color. Make them the same color so it's consistent. And there you go. You've got your second part done, except you do have to add in all of these other attributes. Oh, the other thing that I need to do is this relationship. And in the lab, I'm not sure what it says, but the supplier supplies products. And you can see we've got these two ends here. These are wrong, right? Each supplier would supply 0 or many products. You might have a supplier in your database that currently doesn't have any products, but they're coming. So what I would do here, and then each product has to have at least a minimum of one supplier and a maximum of one supplier, because each product is unique to a supplier. So we're going to start here, and I'm going to go on this. I'm going to right click. I'm going to go set begin symbol, and that will be one and only one. And this symbol here, the end symbol, set end symbol, and that will be 0 or more. There we go. And to make this attractive, I'm going to make the width bigger. And in order to make this more readable, I'm going to make this, say, a 14-point font. And there you go. Now, when we make this smaller, you can see this whole diagram. And after you add in all your other attributes, then you will have completed the Visio portion of this assignment. And that is all I have to give. Thanks.